We'll talk about positioning alone, you know, as a single effect.
Indeed.
But let me ask you, so what then occasions a failed campaign? As part of the as far as advertising is concerned, is it when the product is not sold well? Because Coca-Cola will tell you they brought Dasani to Ghana. They think it was a good product. It looked like it didn't work. Some people bring products, and Bob will know this more than I do, but some people bring products, they think it's good, but it doesn't work. Ash foam and latex foam were doing just marginally until Bob and his friends decided that the late Komla Dumo should do something with it, and then suddenly it shot up. So when political campaigns fail, is it because the advertising was poor?
Well, so many things actually come into play, but first of all, you would want to look at the value proposition. And the reason why I side with Bob about the political product or being a political product is because when Levi talked about the symbols for sale, he says that, you know, a product is not actually the core functions of it, but the symbolic of it. So if you buy a watch, for example.
Symbol?
Yeah.
So that runs the risk of buying the political product, opening it after 4 years, and see that
governance is symbolic. It's a future promise. The person is saying, vote for me, I will deliver A, B, C. Do you know what he's going to do? You don't. But you actually vote for that. So it's a symbol for sale. So, for example, you buy a watch, although it's supposed to give a functional benefit, which is knowing what the time is, but also it's for design, also for ego building. Also
ego?
Of course. You buy your Rolex.
A blue wristwatch. Is that a blue wristwatch? I see. Can we see? Can I see?
You buy a
wristwatch. He has a blue wristwatch. Exactly. So is that ego or design? Or
yeah. So depending on the kind of watch it is. Exactly. So you see, the design, he's getting something out of other than the functional, which is the telling the time. Yeah. So it's actually part of what design is actually part of, you know, culture. Sometimes you want to look at how you feel good, how good you feel about it, and things like that. So whenever you buy the product, it's about the symbols that are actually in there. So if you don't define the value proposition properly, what is this that this particular product is supposed to fulfill? Then, of course, you're not going to connect to the voters because the voters have set aspirations that they expect you to deliver in your time of governance. You know, so if you're not able to define the value proposition properly, in order that you can actually connect with the electorate, then of course there's going to be a mismatch. But of course the other things actually come into play when we talk about failed, you know, what do you call failed campaigns. You know, there could be, you know, during
all the advertising be right and yet the campaign will fail on something else.
Well, of course, because you know when during the campaign itself you're strategizing, so you can strategize all you can, but during the process there could be a lot of things. I'll give you a typical example. When in 2008 McCain and Obama, you know, were campaigning, the U.S. economy crashed. Bush had to call them out for them to go to Washington to sign the what we call the quantitative easing, you know, to push more money in there. At that point, when you are campaigning, you may be campaigning on a particular message. At this point, you have to change course and then defend it why you have to change course, for example, in terms of policy. So if you're promising all goodies...
So you're talking about relevance of the campaign.
That's correct. So
can I make a quick note on field campaigns and marketing?
Yes, I'll let you do that. Then we come to positioning. Yeah, we can do that now.
The thing is, there are four reasons...
The question really is, can it fail even if the advertising was right?
You see, that's what I want to speak to, because there are four reasons why you carry out advertising. To differentiate the product or brand, remind or reassure people about the product or brand, inform people about the product or brand, or persuade them to buy. Now, these are different reasons why you carry out any sort of marketing communications. So, for instance, if you have a campaign that is focused on just informing people, rather than differentiating a product or brand, it might seem like you're putting out creative material, but you might totally have missed it in relation to what the predominant issue to address was. And you don't get it. If, for instance, it's about remind or reassure people about the product, and you go along the tangent or just persuade to buy, you might miss it as well. So I think there's a science that characterizes the deployment of campaigns, which is crucial through research to understand exactly what it is that your target audiences would resonate with, and make sure that's carried in the messages that go to them across the integrated media channels. Very, very important to me. Otherwise, you do it for the sake of doing it, but you won't achieve a certain effect that will make you win the election. It's very, very important.
Let's talk about positioning straight away. So what's positioning?
Positioning is the space you occupy in a prospect or in an electorate's mind relative to those brands or products that are key competitors to you. So, for instance, if you are choosing somebody to be, let's say, the running mate for a president, and you have three people who are hottest for that seat, in choosing them, you have to sort of find out the electorate that matter to you, what it is they are looking for in a running mate, and ensure that you choose somebody that connects with what they perceive to be an ideal vice presidential candidate. So it's basically the space I occupy in Paul's mind related to what Paul thinks about Kobe Mensah. That's positioning. What space do you occupy in the electorate's mind? So it's very important.
The space you occupy even before you start.
Very much. Relative
so
to
that the kind of brand that you have already adopted.
Put out.
So if I'm picked up as a running mate, so I'm a media person, so I already occupy some space.
Precisely.
You are picked up as a running mate, this is professor of marketing. So you occupy some space.
Precisely.
So you want to change that or you want to emphasize that?
You want to decide ab initio what positioning is desired to win the election. And so that's where you start from. Once you are clear on the qualities you need in that vice presidential slot, then you go out and choose somebody who connects well with it. The thing with positioning is that it's very important because of the contrast argument I made earlier, that all campaigning is about contrast. So indeed, you can have a presidential candidate who is a good personal brand, but that's a party that's challenged. So the electorate can't perceive between the personal brand of the leader and the party who to go for. That brings what we call confused positioning.
No, you don't have to say that. I can say that.
Yeah, okay.
You don't have to.
You don't have to say that. Exactly. It's interesting because his name was mentioned twice ago in my class as well as somebody who's a fantastic entrepreneur, but I'm not too sure he'll come and win an election based on the party he leads. So it's sort of exactly. So.